Well, that reminds me of what happened in Cambodia, right? In Sinukville, where they had a bunch of like Chinese companies come in to do development, and then they basically created this kind of space where the Chinese mafia moved in because casinos moved in, and then brought essentially terrible crime to...
This sounds like Vancouver as well.
And human trafficking.
Yeah.
But also, interestingly, like in Sinukville in Cambodia, they're building casinos, but it's illegal in most cases for Cambodian people to gamble or to own casinos. And so they basically created this space where essentially there's a different jurisdiction, right? It's almost like a Chinese jurisdiction that's under kind of China's rules, run by China's enforcers, which in that case are basically the triads or the mafia that are generally controlled by the party, even though they're sort of on their own. And then approved by the corrupt dictator. In the case of Cambodia, Hun Sen is one of those presitators who is elected, and rules with way too much power. And so, like, just imagining this now in like Gwatar and Pakistan and like all over Africa and the countries that we can't even name because there's like.
I think South Africa had this controversy because they wanted Chinese police to come in to, to kind of police some of these areas where there were basically these Chinatowns.
Oh,
and
that
so
sounds good.
they're state-owned companies, and then it was kind of, I don't remember all the details now because it's been a few years, but there was a big controversy over whether they didn't call it the Chinese police would come in, but they called it cooperation, right?
Oh, win-win mutual cooperation.
I love cooperation.
Where essentially these places could be under Chinese jurisdiction. What you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, when you frame it like this, it suddenly the Belt and Road becomes very clear as to what it is. It's colonialism. It's Chinese communist colonialism.
So there are two things. One, if you think about Sri Lanka, China's gone in and tried to protect their investment in Sri Lanka. In Myanmar, so you follow the story in Myanmar. China had a bunch of businesses, manufacturing facilities in Myanmar, except some people attacked those Chinese businesses. And so China said, well, we need to bring in our military to protect our assets. And so this is happening really around the globe. There are American think tanks and advisors and stuff. I just want to have a conversation with them. Are you kidding? They say, well, there's only one military base, and China only has one military base outside of China, and it's Djibouti. Okay, really? What planet are you on? In every one of these countries where the people in the country were not so happy about having China take over big swatches of land and move all these Chinese people in, China moved their military in to protect their investment.
What are some specific cities or ports where there's evidence of the Chinese military actually being there, just so the audience gets an idea of how widespread this is?
Well, for sure, Sri Lanka, because they've taken over lots of Sri Lanka's beach area, right?
Right. I mean, they've got the port Hambantota, which they somehow got a 99-year lease on after Sri Lanka couldn't pay its bills for the Belt and Road.
That's not the only port they have in Sri Lanka. So the string of pearls is Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Oman, Pakistan, Seychelles, Maldives, Kenya, Djibouti. They may not have a full-blown base, but they have military that are protecting their assets. This is kind of the same thing with the
maritime militia.
The maritime militia. They say, oh, well, China has fewer ships than us. Okay, I guess maybe fewer like really big ones. But if you have 17,000 distant water fleet, 17,000 boats that are militarized all around the planet, it's way more than any other country, maybe combined.
Just because they have, they're giant and have reinforced hulls and the people on board carry weapons doesn't mean they're military ships, right? I mean, they're just normal fishing boats.
Well, so this is the challenge of talking about the Chinese Communist Party. There is no separation between like private Chinese companies and the Chinese state. That also means there's really it's a blurry line between any company and the Chinese military. So there's always this sort of like plausible deniability they have. But because the lines are so blurred, really everything ties back to the Chinese Communist Party making decisions. And the military of China isn't the military of China, it's the armed wing of the Chinese Communist Party itself.
The United States is deceiving the American people in saying that we are the strongest, meanest, baddest, military, and we've got all of these facilities and everything. I mean, you probably read the report of the nuclear facilities that China's now building. Oh,
the new silos, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing more of that. So, but I mean, the shipping alone, just boating alone, when you look at a Philippine fishing vessel, they say, oh, well, the Chinese fishing vessel and the Philippine fishing vessel are right next to each other. Like, yeah, the Philippine fishing vessel looks like a tugboat or like I saw you on one of those Philippine fishing vessels, so I know you know what that's like. And then there's this China massive, like, militarized ship. I mean, you can't compare one to another.
Yeah, for the record, when I was standing on that little Filipino fishing boat looking at the huge Chinese boats at the Scarborough Shoal, I was not scared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.